Welcome along to race number 2 of the Triathlon New Zealand Zwift race series. Today we have a 2-lap race of the Harrogate circuit, which was part of the Yorkshire UCI World Champs held late last year. It's about a 28-kilometre circuit, reasonably hilly, so it's a pretty tough day out. Now, as you can see from the start here, I found myself right near the back pretty bloody quickly, and not a good way to start the race. I think what this race did do for me was teach me a few bits and pieces. So firstly, I probably need to go a lot harder at the start. I knew I had to go hard, but kind of was trying to preserve any energy that I might need for later by not going too hard at the gun. But if you don't go hard at the gun, you don't end up in the front bunch, and therefore there's no point conserving any of that energy. The second learning is probably around trying to go earlier. So I only started my sprint probably, 2 or 3 seconds before we started the race. You probably have to do that at least 5 seconds beforehand so that you actually get the power down when you are crossing the line, because it seems to be a little bit of a lag on Zwift. So that's probably a key thing to note at the beginning of any race like that. Now, as we go through here, I have sped it up 4 times speed because not a lot really happens throughout this part of the race. It took about 8 minutes probably for me to end up in the kind of main bunch that I spent some of the race in, and I was still putting out a fair bit of power, and you can see the heart rate still reasonably high. And it's a bit of a shame because I probably only need to do a similar thing to stay in the group had I been in the front pack. But because I wasn't, I had to try and chase on to other groups and put down extra powers and bursts of speed to actually even get myself in a position to be in the race. But back in 90th, 98th position, whatever, it wasn't really a position that I really wanted to find myself in. But hey, we had to make the most of the day. So I think by the time I made my way through and I ended up in a bunch, we were sitting in about 80th place. Now, from there, we were still a long way back from the main group. So, as I do, I decided to have a bit of a crack and see what I could get. So this is the first time that I decide to, wreck myself. As you can see here, I decided to put the power down and see what I could do. And it hurt, but I like doing this in races because it gives me a chance at least. Or if it doesn't give me a chance, it gives me a good workout. So these kind of efforts are pretty important to make the most of a bad situation, because either you end up in a better spot or you get a good bloody workout from the effort. So here we see my second attempt, which was a few minutes after the first one. I decided to have another crack and see what I can get from this. I think honestly by this point, given I haven't given myself much time in between these attacks, it's really more of a workout. There's no real opportunity that I'm going to be able to put this power down and then keep a decent sustainable power afterwards to really move up the field at all. And given that everyone was a significant distance away from me, it really did just become more of a workout, I think. Although in saying that, I do decide to have another crack. So here's the third kind of attempt to get away from people. And this one really was silly in the sense of Zwift racing. I was going downhill, and I decided to use my aero power up going downhill and putting the attack in. Also probably put the power down too late and didn't make the most of the power up, so there's another learning for Zwift. But given this is only my 4th or 5th Zwift race, there's still plenty that I can learn, so I might as well make these mistakes early in my Zwift career, so to speak, and learn from them. We still have another 4 races in this Triathlon New Zealand series, and the top 4 races are what are taken for our points. So this race was clearly not a great one. Last weekend wasn't awesome, but let's see if I can improve on these 2 and make a better attempt in the next couple of weeks. And yes, there will be videos from the following 4 races as well, so stay tuned for those. And do subscribe to the channel, also hitting the bell icon so you get notified when I do put up the following videos. So what we are about to see as part of this race is people coming up and catching me, and unfortunately the beginning of me getting dropped again, even just from this small group. I really should have been able to stay with these guys and just kind of chilled for the rest of the race, and I know maybe had a quick bunch sprint at the end for the group that we're in, but you can see I kind of get together and then I just start going backwards, and that is really the start of the end for me, unfortunately. However, you didn't really come here to see me fail in a Zwift race, and the thumbnail kind of alluded to something a bit more exciting, so never fear, it is coming. And man, what a finish this race did have. I think I have about the last 4Ks, or I think it was about 5 minutes of the actual race, the front of the pack, and it was really something worth watching. So let's see how that race went. And we join the front of the race now from the helicopter with 4 kilometers to go, and it's Ryan Sissons sitting in the front bunch of about 12 riders who are all vying for that final position. It's still hard work here. They've been out there for 30 minutes already, and they're still pushing well over 300 watts just to stay involved in this race and make sure they have a chance when they get to the finish line. We have 3 riders who look like they're just off the front of the chase pack there, with Ollie Jones, Sam Lindsay and S Jones, I'm not sure who that is, sorry, all going hard. It's big bit of effort there from Ollie Jones, trying to keep the distance from everyone else and have that front 3 vie for the position rather than the whole bunch. It's been a tough race out there, and Ollie, obviously as a Zwift pro, certainly knows what he's doing and is strong at all this kind of stuff. We now switch to Braden Curry, one of New Zealand's top Ironman athletes, who is in this position. This is a tough race for him. He's used to being out on the bike for 4 hours at a time rather than 30 minutes of going absolutely ham. So it's a bloody good effort for him, still sticking in this bunch. He's clearly a classy athlete, we know that, but he's working hard here, staying in the bunch. And we have an attack from Richard Lawson down in Christchurch. He's gone off the front, trying to gap everybody else. He's putting down the watts, and he has opened up a small little gap here with just under 3 kilometers to go. Will he be able to hold this gap out, or that pack looks like they are chasing pretty hard to keep up with him? So I don't have much hope here for Richard, but let's see what he can do. He's a very classy rider, and certainly has the ability to stay away, but given the strength of the pack behind, who knows. Oh, and here we have Braden Curry, who has bridged over to Richard and has gone past him. Braden going hard, trying to get his own wee gap here. I guess he doesn't really want to come into a sprint finish with Ollie Jones and the likes of some of these strong cyclists. Braden not really made for sprinting, made for sustained effort, so he's tried to go off the front here and see what he can do. We have the rest of the bunch here. We've still all together, and the race has come back together, so that attack by Braden has not stuck, and it's going to be a pretty tough battle in these last couple of kilometers to try and take out that pole position and take the honours of this second Tri-New Zealand race. We're now watching live with Ryan Sissons, and he is well and truly established himself in this bunch here, and he's ready for a big fight to the end. There's not a lot of triathletes in this bunch, so it's good to see Ryan there, and obviously Braden. I think there's a couple of others, but battling it out with some of New Zealand's top domestic riders, top Zwift racers, particularly Ollie Jones. He's rides for the Canyon Zwift team, and was the Zwift Academy winner a few years back, and rode for Dimension Data. So certainly has the ability, and we're back on board here with Oh, Hayden Rolston, look at that, he's in this bunch too. Another strong cyclist. Man, this front group has some class in it. It's going to be a tight one as we come into the last couple of Ks of this race. Who knows who's going to take it? It's a little bunch here of about 10 riders, and they're really going hard to try and put themselves in the best position to be able to win this race. Who's it going to be that takes it out? Are we going to have a win from one of the New Zealand triathletes, or is it going to be one of these Zwift professionals or some of these domestic riders from New Zealand? We'll have to wait and see. But we have a power up being used from someone off the front there. I'm not sure who that is. Sorry. Oh, it looks like we have an attack from Braden Curry. He's pushing over 10 watts per kilogram, and he's going out hard up this final stretch. Man, he's gone early in the last 500 meters. Oh, and he gets overtaken here. It's going to be a tight finish. Oh my goodness. Who is going to be able to hold on? There are some crazy watts being laid down, I'm seeing, and well in the high teens watts per kilogram. We've got S. Jones off the front. I wonder if he can stick. Oh, but look at that. Look behind him, Ollie Jones coming up tight. He's going to catch him, is he? Let's watch him find out. And Ollie Jones has gone past and is just smashing to the line. I saw 15 watts per kilogram peak there. That is a massive effort from Ollie after this race. What a solid performance. And here's Ryan Sissons coming over the line, still in that top 10. What a bloody strong race. Now we return to me a bit further back in the last 1,500 metres of this race. This is at double speed, so you don't have to wait through the pain. And I think there was a KOM for the last 1.2 kilometres, so I decided that I'd try and put the power down and see what I could put out. It didn't pop up on the side as it usually would, so not really sure what was happening, but I thought I'd still just try and get the power out, and made a decision that for the last 500 I'd really try and put the hammer down and see what I could do. So as we come up here, got 700 metres to go, and I'm still trying to put the power out. The heart rate's getting up there, almost touching 180, and with 500 metres to go I really get down. You can see on the bottom left hand side I'm working pretty hard here. The heart rate's getting into those low 180s and mid 180s and high 180s even, and really working hard after what has been a pretty tough race. And there's the old ride on from Gus, who's already finished, and with about 100 metres to go I'm just done and I roll across the line. So I finished there in about 76th place, having pushed 315 watts. It's about 4.3 watts per kilogram, I think is what it said. So still a pretty solid effort for me out there today. We're just scrolling through, and who can we see down on this list? Simon Cochrane there had a pretty solid effort, around about 30th. Adam Bidwell, Kate McElroy 21st. Solid race from Kate there. I think she's potentially the winning female. Gus there pushing, what was that, 5.4 watts per kilogram, far out. That is a solid effort. There's Braden Curry pushing massive numbers as well. There we go, Ollie Jones with 4.8, 369 watts per kilogram to win this race. That is a huge effort from Ollie, and man, there's certainly no wonder that he managed to take out the win, particularly with a strong finish, and he certainly knows how the Zwift racing goes. So, well, join me again next week for race number 3 of the Triathlon New Zealand race series. And if you've enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe and hit the bell so you know when the next one's coming.